Hey everyone, welcome back to It's a Write-Off. I'm Joel.
And I'm Trevor.
Glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
I got a little excited there by introducing myself and saying my name. I was like a little jumpy there for a minute. Like I don't know what happened.
I know. I think I
Like,
just think I spoke in a deeper voice too.
I
And
don't
when
know. Forgot. Hey, I'm just happy to be here. That's all that matters. You haven't left me yet, so that's all that matters.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
man, we are in renewal season, and so I want to talk about that because it's always kind of a it's always a little you're a little nervous to a certain degree because it's kind of the validation of you continuing your work, especially as you continue compliance work, doing tax returns year over year, engagement letter. Like we get, like most people are coming back unless there was a valid reason. Like the churn on taxes are super low, but like advisory stuff. So I want to talk about renewals. Like, hey, we've done this. We always renew in the summer, so we do that
What are we
intentionally.
renewing?
Tax planning. Sorry, we're tax planning renewals. We're also renewing a lot of other things. Thank you, vendors, for always being post tax season, for making us renew all the things. Hey, can
Our
you hop on a
core
quick
credit
call for a
card.
minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Renewing tax planning clients. So we're having our Q3 meetings. That ends up being a renewal conversation as well. We do that on purpose because it's a good time where if a client needs to downgrade, scope down, scope up, move on, change, whatever. It's a perfect time for us because then at a minimum, we have a good half year. We're a little over halfway through, but they've got a good runway if they want to go somewhere else or do something different, or we have plenty of time to react and respond. And we're also trying to build out our capacity too to understand what we got going on. So you've been heavy in those conversations. And so I'll say we're a little nervous sometimes. Not. It's always just a little nerve wracking. You're basically asking for somebody to kind of go on another date, right? So tell me about what you've experienced because this will be one of your first cycles through renewals. And you've been part of those conversations, especially those that are, you're on there with our tax managers and stuff like that. So tell me what you think. How have you felt about that? Let's just talk about like a kind of a basic renewal where it's like staying the same. We're still cruising. Like, how have you felt those have been, and like what do you kind of put yourself in the client's perspective? What are you feeling from the client on how those are happening?
Yeah. So first I'll start with probably about 70% of our renewals are kind of staying the same as far as pricing
Hmm.
goes that we have with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I would say 20% are seeing an increase. That's because they've added more businesses or created a new business. They have new entities, bought real estate, or they're doing more
Yeah.
um, than what we did last year, or came through. It started last year. We did the work, and now we need to
Yeah.
we need to kind of bill for it and that type of thing. And then the other
Hmm.
10%, we're seeing a decrease. That's because they're slowing down. The amount of transactions is significantly lower.
Hmm.
Maybe they've sold their business. We have some of
Right.
that too, where we had a client
Yep.
sell their business and we're kind of still helping them. I think we have two or three of those actually that we're
Yeah.
helping them here in these next couple years as they still have earnout, as they're still getting a W-2 now from Newco, and things like that. So we're still tax planning for them, but it may not be as heavy as it was with the business. So there's a few of those as well, but majority are staying the same as far as the pricing goes.
Would you
Honestly,
say the 10% that go down are those have been relatively like open and closed, right? Like, yeah, we'd like, how have those gone? Have those been hard or have those been kind of the easier ones? Because my assumption is the increases are the harder ones.
yeah, I mean, I think you're right for sure. So the ones that are staying the same, or the ones that are going down, are obviously there's not much to be
Hmm.
said there. I'm kind of starting that conversation. It's coming at the end of their Q3 call, so I'm sitting in their Q3 call with them. The tax manager, our implementer, we're in there going through, tying out things from last year, seeing where they're at for the year, all those things that we do in kind of that Q3 call, making sure that they're continuing to do their things that they need to be doing on their end. Um, and so I come in at the end and just kind of say, hey, how has this engagement gone for you this last year? How do you feel? I tell them,
Hmm.
hey, this is an annual engagement. I kind of re-explain the process to them. We intentionally set it up this way, and we
Hmm.
want to, have finished your tax return. You're done. We're having this Q3 call, and we want to kind of level set again with you,
Hmm.
and make sure we want to do this again for a year. So this is
Right.
kind of a check-in to see how has this gone for you. What can we do better? What do you want to see different? I've yet to see anybody say they want anything different. I was kind of hoping to get some insight on
Mhm,
service line items that we could improve on. I haven't gotten
mhm.
any of that. I'll be honest.
We're just that good.
I doubt
Um,
it. I just think I
well,
catch
there's
them off
there's
guard with the question, honestly.
there's a few times where we've already kind of laid some seeds that like, hey, some of our tax planning isn't going to get harder, but what we're going to do is we're going to step into a little bit more like higher level, like advisory, like business consulting type conversations with projections and budgeting and a little more like just adding some value in a slightly different way. If we can't continue adding it, I think those end up happening. So I think they've already kind of been primed for some of those. That's my opinion, because we kind of get a feeling like, hey, okay, we're unless we want to go out and spend some significant new money, like I don't think there's going to be any new strategies. We're going to kind of just make sure the other ones are tried and true. Uh, so we need to do more. Like we need to find something to do more for the clients. I think they're mostly prepared. Like they don't need to say new, because I don't think anybody's going to say I want you to go do a bunch of more work. So,
Right.
but it's nice to ask, and it's nice that they didn't
Well,
tell
so
us
I do
we
kind of
stink.
reiterate what you said too, and I say, hey, we want to be straightforward with you here, unless we kind of know the business. If there's going to be changes in the business, or if they're looking to still
Hmm.
grow, or where they're at in their life cycle there of the business, hey, there's what we've done. You know how much we've saved you, because we kind of deliver that through this call as well. We remind them
Hmm.
of,
Hmm.
hey, here's what you've got to, and we could have an whole episode about that, but a lot of this stuff, there's nothing tangible they can hold on to. We've got
Hmm.
to remind them of the work we did. Here's what we saved you. Here's the impact. Here's what the things that we set up and those type of things. So kind of laying that out. And it just over the last, month or so, we've built out some things that help that to be repeatable and to be the exact kind of same thing as getting delivered to each client, which I really like. It's pretty. It looks good. It's eye appealing. It gives the
Hmm.
information in a way that they can digest it, and then we can regurgitate it or repeat it on these different meetings, just as a reminder. But say, hey,
Right.
we've done this. We're going to continue to do these things. But as
Hmm.
far as new things, there's not a whole lot without more changes or new money coming in that we can do for you. So we want to be upfront with that, but we want to continue this relationship. And if you see value in the quarterly calls, the advisory, having a sounding board to bounce some of these ideas off, or financial questions, or whatever it may be, bookkeeping questions, I don't know. You can name 100 different things that we get throughout these
Right.
calls.
Yeah.
Uh, if you still see value in that, we do as well, and we want to
Hmm.
continue working with you, we'll just kind of keep this thing rolling. And I
It's the
we've
value
been
con
very
it's the value
successful.
it's the value conversation year
Yeah.
over year. Yeah, no, we're happy to be running it back with every client thus far. One thing that happened, it happens that it happened a couple of times this year, more than normal, is there's some aspects of how our tax planning has kind of evolved, and where we've positioned ourselves in the market in terms of like the clients that we serve. So inevitably that means that as you change as a firm or you go up market or whatever the situation is, like there's some aspects of a legacy client, like a client that's been with you longer, maybe at a slightly different pricing structure or whatever, like people you love working with, and you keep them, but there's a point where like, hey, so we had a couple of those this year. So I want to hear your perspective on that. So we had clients that were kind of at a legacy pricing model. We've changed and evolved as a firm. Some of our new client minimums are, because we want to be excited and to do the work, and we want to at a point whenever you have a client that you can only bump up a tiny bit every year, you get a little bit of, it's just you're not as excited to hit the work on it. So, anyways, so we had to have some real conversations. Hey, I recall you saying like there wasn't a lot going to change, so you ended up having to kind of talk about what it was. Like, how did you talk to the client? You were honest with them in a sense of like what we can and can't do, but that kind of thing. So tell me a little bit more about how that goes, because you were on those calls and I wasn't in this particular instance. So I want to hear about that, where it was the ones where you were legacy and there's not a lot of new stuff we can do. What are we going to do from here? So how did
Mhm.
that go?
Well, I think there's two different situations that you're talking about. A few of those that we've actually initiated the disengagement with them. So I'll talk about those
Sure,
first, because that
sure,
did
yeah,
happen in a couple cases.
right.
And so before we sent them a disengagement letter, um, I gave them a call, and
Yeah.
honestly, these few, they were in that situation where they were legacy. There wasn't much more that we can do for them. They were
Hmm.
below our new minimum that we have. And
Hmm.
honestly, I was on their calls for Q2 and I could
Hmm.
see they weren't super engaged with it. I could see there was,
Yeah.
I didn't feel that they were receiving the value that maybe
Sure.
they thought that they were paying for in that
Right.
case. And that
Right.
very well, you know, they're entitled to that all day long. And so I
Yeah.
kind of had that in the back of my mind on these couple that say, hey, we can't do much more for them. They're under our pricing. Yes, the client's fine, but it may be best that they take what we've done for them. They can continue to do it themselves.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Um,
they know what we're doing at this point.
and
And
let's let them go. And so I
yeah.
actually made that phone call to them before we sent the disengagement letter, just so they weren't caught off guard with it. I explained to them the situation. We've grown, and all those things. I went through those same points that I just kind of talked about, just in
Yeah.
a I honestly said it better, but it was well received. Honestly, they appreciated the call. They appreciated the update. I said, because of the relationship we have with you, I wanted to call you personally and just relay this information to you and explain it
Yeah.
so that you
Hmm.
didn't receive it in an email. But I'll
Sure.
also say I appreciate it, and they appreciated that with their email, they got an entire Loom video from their tax manager that walked through everything that we've done for them in the past years. I mean, in the
Hmm.
past year, what the strategies we've been working on, how to
Hmm.
continue doing that themselves, and
Right.
what they would need to take to their next CPA or advisor. All their documents are available within our
Hmm.
our canopy, and they can still download them. We're helping transition them off of the QuickBooks that we help with. We didn't drop them like a hot potato. We
Hmm.
helped them transition away and are still doing so today. But those went really well too, and we did that
Yeah.
because of those reasons. But um,
Right.
I think the one you may be alluding to, or the couple that end up in this situation, they're smaller engagements, and there's not a whole lot more that we can do for them. We help a lot with some of the QuickBooks because they're DIY on their QuickBooks
Hmm.
side. We help with that, and the
Hmm.
tax manager does, or they'll call
Hmm.
in and talk to our operations manager and get some help,
Right.
that way. And that's great. We want them to do that. That's part of their engagement, honestly. Um, and so we had this renewal conversation, and she made the comment. She said, "If I pay you, I'm saying a number, $15,000 a year, and you save me $15,000 a year, I'm still getting my tax returns done, and I'm getting these calls and the help that y'all give me. It's a
Hmm.
win for me." She said, "So I want to keep doing this." And so,
Yeah.
it was kind of an interesting thought. She said, "I'm getting my tax returns done for free, in essence, with this."
Yeah. Because I mean, paying someone few $1,000 for business and personal returns. And if they can't help you when you have those questions and making sure you're doing it correctly and not exposing yourself. I mean, granted, the client could essentially still keep doing the thing, but I think there's a level of, as we know, it's the implementation is what makes it a tax plan. Um, I mean, I think that, you know what I mean? Like me and you think that if you can save me, if you can pay you 10 to save me 10. Now, I ideally would love them to, give me 10 and I save them 20. But 10 and 10 is solid. Like you said, it means you got basically your compliance done for free. I'm glad someone else can say that and then that shows that there's still value in what we do and the people still will value that service.
What have you said before? You come for the tax savings and stay for the advisory?
I guess so, man. So yeah, come for the planning, stay for the. I don't know. I don't even know. I say so many things at this point, but
You've gotten better at the metaphors, but I feel like you've kind of backed off on them a little bit too. Like
you
you
make fun of me too much about them.
mm,
I also blend too many metaphors as well, and that starts to confuse me. So, yeah, my favorite one was someone who was building a barn to also live in them. And there was an aspect of it that was an ag structure was, make sure it's a little more barn and a little less dough, that kind of thing or something along those, or come for the barn, stay for the dominion or something. I don't remember what I said. It was really tacky. So anyways, let's move on.
I don't think most people even know what you're talking about and what a
No, it's fine.
barn
It's fine.
dominium
Yeah.
is.
We'll do an entire episode on ag and livestock cattle ranching accounting and the difference between raising versus feedlot cattle. That'll be fun for about 4 people. But let's get into no, I think the point that you said was it was interesting to me, and it was nice that the client saw value in what we did. We kept it the same, and we're going to keep running it back. And I think she's also understanding that leaving the door open for, like, if something changes, if a situation changes, or if life happens, or if I want to, do a new thing. She values the fact that she can have somebody to call and run these things through. And she's not going to have to worry about, you know,
Mhm.
a bill, or I mean, a random invoice, or can I call them, or do they have time? Will they respond? We bake in response and response times and all those things into our engagement. So, like, client knows if they email us, they're going to get a response. Or if they need to schedule a meeting, guess what? Like, there's links for every single person on their team that they can get in front of somebody. So that's kind of cool.
Right.
How else on the renewal things? What stood out to you as, like, the most surprising thing that you encountered? Maybe it was this, maybe there was anything different than this example that would have, that you were surprised on. Um,
Not necessarily. I mean, I have high expectations of us and of our clients, honestly. So, and I see the work that we do. You know, there's not a lot of people that are doing it, at least locally, because I'm dealing with the incoming calls too. So, I know that we do good work, and I know that we provide a service that a lot of people are thirsty for and can't find other places. So, as long as they've had a prior CPA relationship before coming to us, we look pretty good. If they've never had a CPA and we are their first experience with it, they don't have the other experiences to kind of look back on and compare us to. So maybe that would be a
so
more difficult situation.
I'm going to press on that because that'll be slightly controversial. So yeah, so part of our ICP, or kind of our new client, like, potential things that we look for or don't look for, is, do they have they worked with a CPA before? Have they worked with the firm before? Um, Tell me about that, and tell me the direction we've gone. What do you think about that? Because I think I mentioned it sort of, and then you kind of ran with it. And as you've kind of talked to more clients, that's part of our questionnaire. So tell me about what you think. First off, tell everyone our stance, and then, like, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's a red flag if they don't have a prior CPA relationship. That's what it comes down to. Because I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you were proven right in that situation. I don't like to say that, but um, if they're coming to us without either doing it themselves or not, obviously they're having to do it themselves if they don't have a CPA,
Right.
or they use,
Right.
one of the other providers that can do it online. But they just don't know what it's like working with someone. And so we need a certain amount of engagement from them to help us do our work, number one. And we
Hmm.
have expectations and timelines, and we need their help to do their work, right? So
Hmm.
if they haven't had that prior experience, they don't have a bar to hold us to either,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that end. Also, it ends up tending to be those business clients who are newer in their life
Hmm.
cycle, and so they haven't
Hmm.
quite engaged, and we're the first one that they're finally going,
Hmm.
"Oh, man, like, I can't manage this anymore. I need someone else to help me," and they're not quite at the level that we can
Right.
charge them for the work that they really need help with. And
Right.
we know they're about to come up against, probably in that year, usually what, year 2 or 3, where they start
Hmm.
making money, they're gonna end up having,
Right.
taxes owed, um, those type of things, but they have a lot more questions, a lot more hand-holding is associated with those, which we don't mind doing, but we need to be able to price that into our engagement and know what to expect there. And, if we if they haven't been down that road before, it's a lot more difficult on our end.
So, anyways, let's go into, yeah, no, it's a super red flag, and I'm really proud of what we've done and how we work with our clients. So like, not someone, I mean, and it's cool because if someone comes to us, they can kind of feel it like, oh, this is so like, I mean, we hear comments all the time like you're so much more thorough, or this onboarding or this experience, like and we really love when clients say that because we put a
This
lot of
is
effort into.
exactly what I've been looking for. Those are the words.
Yeah, that's that we hear that a good amount. Yeah, especially during the like the the sales process or whatever the
Right.
case is. I think it's super good. But and it's nice to know, like, but you can't explain that to somebody if they've never worked with anybody else before. And so we feel like a lot of these relationships, that people have come from other firms that maybe don't have the level of service, or at least the processes that we do. Those relationships are really, really good. And the clients are great to work with, and they've seen the other side and like that. So it's not a knock on our colleagues, but it's something that we look for because it's a little bit of a red flag. Even if they're good business owners, we almost like want them to go somewhere else first so they can at least know that we're different.
Right.
And that doesn't, I mean, but relationships that haven't worked out that way end up kind of being like, because then they just talk to a friend, or they talk to like a friend of theirs or another business owner, and say like, wait, what? My person's only this and that or whatever. And
Becomes a
next thing you
pricing
know,
conversation
yeah,
rather
if you
than
want,
value.
it's the whole deal. If it's good, it ain't cheap. If it's cheap, it ain't good. And then there's an aspect of fast in there too, all those kinds of things. My favorite example is like clients that leave or something along those lines, and everything is teed up for them 100%, like for a transition, everything in the portal, anything to offboard. When we do that, so we don't have to, do it later. And then all of a sudden we'll get a call like a week before a deadline that their other CPA needs something. So you know what I mean? Like their return with us was done in April. And in October, we're already planning for the end of the year. And then their new firm is just now finishing their stuff and asking for something that should have been there months ago.
Right.
So it just shows
Right.
that it's been reactive and all those kinds of things. So
Right.
no, we like folks that have been through it and have seen the other side, and been with other people. And sometimes it takes that in order to kind of know what you got.
Just to kind of I'll finish out the renewal with that. After the conversation, then immediately after that call, we use Ignition is what we're using
Mhm.
for our proposals. Our engagement letters are in there.
Mhm.
We send them a new engagement through that, and their billing information is already in there. It's really quick and easy for them to go through there,
Yeah.
confirm it again, sign it, and then we have that engagement for the next year. And it's pretty quick and seamless for them to get that through.
Yeah, no, it's been a good renewal season. It's been a good Q3 meetings. Q3 kind of sounds a little funny because we're in August, but sometimes it is just part of it was we were wrapping up some final ones because of summer vacations and families. It seems like we do Q3 as school starts up, where parents kind of have a little bit better of a schedule. Some of those times like that, but it's been a successful season. You've been a huge part of that. The clients have been able to, we keep it going, and I think they appreciate the transparency, and they appreciate the honesty in some of the other cases of we just want to make sure we're a good fit. And that's the biggest thing too, is if we're not a fit, then we're not going to keep doing it, and that's not right to them. So,
Right.
um,
We give them an opportunity for an out, and I tell you the tax managers too. They like having either you or me on that call to deliver that renewal, especially
yeah.
if it's an increase. I think the
Oh
ones that
yeah,
they've done have been decreases, and so they were comfortable doing those. But
sure.
if we have an increase, or it's a larger client or what have you, the tax managers have seemed to appreciate having either you or I on that call to just help deliver that message, because they're kind of doing, their part of it, and the sale, still kind of consider this, I guess, sales. It doesn't feel like it, but
Everything's sales, man. Everything in life is sales. I think we talk about that a lot. Just it's all sales. Just different versions of it to a certain degree.
right.
Um, Yeah,
Right.
man.
Right.
Well, it's been a heck of it's been a good time, and I think that just it goes into kind of adding in some process and giving a little more peek behind the curtains of kind of how we do some things, and we don't have the expectation that something's going to keep going. Like we're intentional about it, so I think that just it leans into that intentionality that we constantly are preaching about, like how we do things. It's thought through, it's executed upon, and all those types of deals. So it's just another version of that, and that's how we're going to continue it as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to make assumptions that you're happy or whatever, but in the end, I think there's certain services that you value, and to a point, if you value either the service itself or the person who's doing it and delivering it, to a point, as long as it doesn't become like obscene, you're gonna stay online with them for as long as they're willing to do it with you. You can almost, there's certain people that I know I work with as vendors or whatever, like they could pretty much tell me anything and I'm gonna say yes to them, because I value them or they're good at what they do, that kind of deal.
Well,
So
they've earned that trust, though.
yeah, and I think, but to your point, I think that's this. Like, have in part of the renewal process, to a point, almost like asking them without directly asking them, is have we earned your trust again? Have we earned your trust for another year or for another season or whatever this
I
case
like
is?
that.
I think there's a way to that's basically what we're asking for, and they're validating that to a certain point. So, um,
So ultimately, get in front of your clients, especially those who are on more of an annual engagement, not just the compliance clients, but get in front of them, get in front of those engagements. I would say the same thing probably could be said about CAS and those type of things. I think we're going to talk about CAS and some changes that we're making, accounting on another episode. But I think that I think the same thing can be said about that and being in front of those engagements and making changes where they need to be and being upfront about it and why those changes would need to be made. And those clients that respect that will stay, and those that don't, maybe that relationship needed to be reevaluated anyways.
for sure. Well, this has been a fun one. I like talking about this kind of stuff. Certainly, I think it's helpful to get this kind of thing out there. I think more people need to be talking about these conversations. It's not talked about enough, I think, in our industry, at least amongst ourselves and owners. So I appreciate you giving your insight on that, and we're fortunate that we've been successful, so we're willing to talk about it. But I don't want to. We don't want to assume that's always the case, and I think that's part of it is just continuing to earn that trust and show that value. So it's been a fun one. I think until next time, I think we'll continue giving some peeks behind the curtains, and we'll talk about more client stuff as well. So, Joel, appreciate you being here as always, pal.
All right, man. Have a good night.